morning, everyone. It's the Mama's Den. This is your girl, Ashley, she who talks a lot. I'm here with my other girl.
What's up, you guys? It's Felicia.
Oh my God, the amount that you go is so funny.
It just comes out naturally.
I love it. Who else is here today?
Hi, I'm Cody.
This is Melanie, and welcome to the Mama's Den.
Welcome.
Hello.
Okay, guys. First of all, I listened to this week's episode. We're hilarious. I just want to say that. I also watched The Parent Test.
Oh, good.
This is the first time you watched it?
Yes.
Did you watch all of them?
I watched I think 4 or 5 episodes. So I realized that I am a disciplined parent. I am like the auntie mama who's raising her niece/daughter.
I love her.
I love her.
I love her.
I love her philosophy.
I love her too.
I
She
think
reminds
that
me of my mom.
I think that she was on point with everything she was saying. So I feel like I'm definitely a disciplined mom. And then we talked about this, Ash. I feel like I'm also a little new age.
Yeah.
Where I have a little bit more grace. There's a lot of conversation. And I found it really interesting out of that one test where all the parents that you thought had kids that weren't going to open that door when a stranger came, it was the new age parents that were like, nah, we don't do that. And I felt good about that. And I felt seen in that because Cameron will always ask if he can open the door. Even if we're like, so-and-so's coming over. Oh, that's your auntie. Oh, that's your friend. He will always say, Mommy, Daddy, can I open the door?
Oh,
and I love that because there's a conversation. There's an awareness. There's not an entitlement or just everything's fine. So I feel like I saw myself in the new age style. I feel like I saw myself in the and in the disciplined parent. And then I understood the helicopter family. The helicopter family for me was interesting because they were so nervous about the world, yet they kept having more kids.
Girl.
Which made me be like,
Is that Janetta and Hashem?
It made me pause. It was like, for people who are so weary about the world, you have 6 children.
Yeah.
So that's more responsibility, more worry, more anxiety, more helicoptering. And I found that interesting. I would, if I could sit down with them, I would love to know what that is.
Well,
Y'all
you
notice that they
know what
match?
it is.
Y'all notice that they
match all their
every
clothes,
single time too.
100%.
She was told she would never have kids. So they be having kids.
But we know you can have kids, sis. We see it.
No, I know. But I mean, that's when they had how many did they have?
I'm just saying.
How many did they have at the
They have 6.
Every time I see her, she got a new kid. Every time I see her.
No,
every
she
kid.
for sure.
real.
But they're committed to that. She was told she would never have kids, so they just are ha, look at God. For
Yeah.
real.
Look at them again.
We
But
met
they're
them.
all-
Look at them again.
We met them.
But
You
they're
get a
all.
kid. You get a kid. You get a kid. Every kid got a kid. But a kid.
But that was the part that was perplexing for me. I did not know that part of their story. Did that
No,
say
we
anything?
know
Sam?
them. You
No,
know them.
I
You know
so
them.
I don't like to use
I was
the
like, I
word
didn't read that in the fine print.
know people because
Right.
But
I know that.
familiar
They
with
told
them.
us
I've
that
met them.
out their
Yes,
mouths.
Hashem actually shot my pregnancy announcement video for Tata. Yes, they're a very sweet family.
Oh, I didn't know you actually
I knew him, yeah.
Oh.
But
Shit, I don't know
haven't.
him.
I don't know them, but I knew them. I haven't
Right.
spoken to them in a while, but they
Yeah.
are really sweet and loving.
Yeah.
They seem like it.
But their kids are back to back, and she's openly
Yes.
shared this.
They
She has
said
had
she has 6. They have 6 under 8.
no,
or
but she
6
had
under
all
7.
C-sections too,
Mhm.
and that's the thing that's wild to me is she willingly has these children, willingly has these C-sections, and she really wants these babies. But I actually have never asked her why. Beyond, like you said, okay, I thought I couldn't have children, but I have 4, so it's not like I'm that far off. But I don't know, because of that too. When I watched the show, I was like, oh, that's interesting. They really are very tight knit. They homeschool their kids. They don't let them go with anyone else. They really go to everything as a family. If she on a panel or if they're going to an event, all of their children are coming, and they really move that way, which is admirable, but equal. Is it not draining? I don't know how they're doing it in LA. It's a
I'm
lot.
asking you. Ain't that what
Yes.
y'all
I need
do?
to have her on the show.
Yes, no, we need to bring her on.
Yeah.
I actually think we should.
I would
Because I
love to
have a
talk
lot
to
of
her.
questions.
Because
I need answers.
They have such great. I think they have such great love for their children, and
yeah.
I love that what they were talking about even too, which is leading us to what our topic is today. I saw the episode where they were introduced over sexual conversation and tough conversations and body parts, and everyone was like, "Well, I don't understand why you're not talking to your daughters about this." And she was just like, because I'm protecting her innocence for as long as I possibly can, And
what's the this?
It was the fact
Body
that
parts.
they didn't know what, a vagina was. They didn't know what periods were. The periods was the main thing.
Right.
And people were like, I don't understand why you don't want her to know that she's going to get a period. She's like, it's fine that I know she's going to get a period. As she gets closer to getting there, we will introduce that.
Like, she doesn't need to worry about it.
She doesn't
right
need
now.
to worry. She's like, I
7.
don't want it in the back of her mind worrying about like bleeding in 5 years or 6 years. And then, somebody was like, well, girls her age, some of them are getting their periods at 8, 9 years old. Like, you have to have this conversation. And she was just like, I am not afraid to have the conversation. I would prefer that we had the conversation closer to when it's happening for her.
Yeah, I like agreed and disagreed with that.
Me too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, agree to disagree. It's an interesting approach. But that being said, having those tough conversations with your kids about sex, body parts, periods, all of that. And Felicia, you said you had Felicia came in here today with a purpose about conversation, and I just started talking about the parent test. What is the purpose? The purpose is
we have an agenda because I need help.
The
penis. Okay, so Zen just turned 4.
Penis.
And he noticed that his little penis gets hard in the morning. He gets morning wood. And I just, as the mom of my household, I don't know how to talk right now. As the mom of my household,
as the parent,
as the sister, I'm like,
as the adult in my home,
as a person with small children, and
the eldest,
and the person who wore pink pants.
Shut up, y'all. So, as the mom, when I see him like touching himself, and it's not touching himself inappropriately. Right. He thinks it's funny. So he literally would put his hands in his pants like every other guy that I know in the morning, Of all ages. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're here. This is what you guys do. So he'll just like put his hand and just like, I can see his little hand moving. And I just told him, I was like, okay, that's enough. Knock it off. I'm like, go over there. That's enough. And he's just like, he just thinks it's funny the whole time. But I haven't had a conversation because I'm like, I don't know. And then when I told his dad would just starts laughing, and I'm like, so
because his
like,
dad's still
doing it. Watch, P starts. It's gonna be funny when P starts her period. If she's with her dad, and he gonna be like, "What do I do?" I just laugh. I don't.
Not you waiting to get back.
Wait,
planning my petty.
So have you guys? I know, Ash. Sorry, you don't have no boys.
No,
that's okay because girls do similar things.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Really?
So you ain't excluded from this.
Yeah. They discover their little vagines and squeeze their little vaginas together. Mm-hmm.
Squeeze their little vaginas together?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they'd be like, oh, that feels good. And I'd be like, uncross your legs. Ain't nobody crossing their legs in this house. I don't know what you do.
You crossing your legs a little too
tight.
Open the leg. And now close them because that's not ladylike.
Right.
She said, oh. So have you guys experienced that? Mel, you have an older.
Yeah, 100% I've experienced it. I'm very transparent with Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll bring his dad into it quick. I'll be like, hey, talk to your son about what's happening down there. I don't know what it's like to live with a penis. But I mean, Cameron has definitely experienced this exact same thing. He would wake up and he's just very matter of fact. Like, he's not touching it and doing all that, but he'll wake up and he'll be like, when he was younger, he'd be like, Daddy, Mommy, sometimes when I wake up, my pee-pee's hard in the morning. Mm-hmm. And people, he'll say it's standing up. That's what he says. He says it's standing up.
Yeah.
And so I literally, without trying to bust out laughing, just tell him and just be like, hey, sometimes when you're laying down, you just laying down and the blood is moving in your body differently and it goes to your penis sometimes.
I never mentioned blood moving.
And he's very much just like, okay. And just keeps it moving. Like, we had a conversation about periods the other day because he knows about the movie Turning Red. And he just came to me and he was like, Mom, what's that thing that happens to girls at like what? And he just was I was like, what is it that you're trying to say? He was like, it's something with a P and they need a pad for it. And I was like, oh. And I was like, it's a period. And I had to go into that conversation right away. And I remember he was very receiving the information. And I told him, I was like, yeah, Mommy gets a period. He says, you bleed? And I was like, yes. He goes, oh, I'm glad I'm not a girl. I said, I know. I said, boys have it a little easier than girls. I said, but I tell you what. And I was like, when I was pregnant, I didn't have a period. He's like, oh, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I got a little break from that. And I was like, but now it's back. And he was like, oh, man. And then he was like, I'm glad I'm a boy. That's what he said. And then I went out and told his dad, and Jared was mortified. Couldn't even believe that we had this conversation. But Cameron literally just accepted the information
Yeah.
and kept it moving.
Yeah,
you know?
that's good.
I was just really hoping that he didn't turn it into, so how did I get here? And I was not ready to tell him about how his dad and I, that's when we had this conversation over text, Cody.
Yeah.
About
That
how to
would
have
be
the
I don't even know where to begin with
You
this
don't know where to
whole
begin,
conversation
but-
because I've been in all of it.
Yes, but the penis, I just feel like you just got to talk to your kids. And, you know, to
For
that
sure.
point on the parent test, there was a 13-year-old who did not know who testicles belong to,
yeah.
whether it was male or female anatomy. They didn't know what the vagina was, and she was 13.
Mm-mm.
And like,
Yeah.
you know, everyone was like, you have a teenager. She doesn't know what this
Yeah.
is. So
Because she's gonna learn at some point, even if she's
But
in high school or something. Like, you know, they learn in with the health class. I don't know. I
Yeah.
would rather teach my child.
Yeah.
a stranger
100%.
teaching
That
them.
it like stresses me out / is like sad to me. Like I haven't
Yeah.
watched the show, so
Yeah.
but like it's sad when that happens.
Yeah.
But
Cody, you got these 3 boys.
Yeah.
Speak on it.
I don't know where to begin though. So I I just looked up the year of this article. 2014, I read an article called "We Don't Touch Our Vulvas at the Table"
Oh, you
on
told
the
us about
Scary
this.
Mommy
Yeah.
website.
Yes.
I did not have a child for 2 years after that, but I had nephews. And so I was like, you know, everything was through the lens of like, you know, wanting to understand them. And so reading the article was really just about ultimately how to communicate with your child when they do these things, girls, boys, whoever, but also like teaching them about their body parts and stuff like that and why it's important. And personally, for me, the biggest reason has always been like so that if anything bad did happen to them, they can communicate about it.
Right.
There's a lot of benefit to them
Absolutely.
understanding their body parts, but like to me, that one is just like safety,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that's why I get
Yeah.
so like, oh,
Yep.
when people don't.
Yeah, same.
That's my judgment. That's my parental
agree
judgment,
with
parental judgment.
Yeah.
So I read that article so long ago. So I was like, all right,
I'm ready.
one day this gonna happen, right? And so fast forward to, I mean, all of this, right? So Brooks, same thing with Cameron. Like he has described it. Brooks literally sleeps with his hands
In his pants.
in his pants.
Yeah.
Yes. And I meant, you know what? I also wasn't even going to say which child, but whatever. So he does. And so we've talked about that. But recently, y'all, because we talk about everything, and I'll tell the sex story in a second, with the babies, I made a comment to them that like put them ahead of the game on accident. I was embarrassed for myself. I was like, why did I say that? So, you know, because of when it gets hard,
Yeah.
sometimes they have to like push it down
Yeah.
in the underwear, right? And Brooks does that. And so the babies, they had just gone out of the bathtub and they were putting on underwear. And something in me was like, do you push your penis down in your underwear? And he and whichever child it was, maybe Langston, I said, do you push it down or do you leave it up? Because he had like left it up. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I'm thinking like I'm thinking ahead, right? And he goes, whatever his answer was, down, up, I don't know what it was. He was like, oh, I don't know. And then he goes, why did you ask that, Mom?
Oh.
And on the one hand, I was like, what a thoughtful question.
Right.
On the other hand, I was like, because some people have a preference. You know, because like they had never told me. Y'all,
Do you tuck it down or do you tuck it up?
it was literally like we
In
were
the
just having a
waistband or
casual
under the balls?
Do you
conversation.
check it in the waistband or what do you do?
It was literally like the day before you sent that text, Felicia, because I was like, why did I do that?
Oh my God.
And then the fact that Langston is like, why'd you ask?
Now he's going to be thinking
Because
about
I've
that.
been around the
Of
block,
course.
baby.
I did that.
That is so weird because I obviously don't have sons, and the way I discovered that
man.
men tuck their penises is from dating a man.
Yeah.
And like
Yes.
we would do it, and then it would still be hard, and he would tuck it up. He
Tuck
was
it
an
up.
up tucker.
Put it in the waistband.
Put it in
Yeah,
the
he was
not
waistband.
to push it down.
No, he just like left it and just put it like this until it like swiveled away.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Until
my
it's
ex.
I've been there before too. So it goes right back
You
into
gotta
a little.
tuck
I
it
didn't
up.
even know that was a thing. I honestly thought it was just him until I just like literally just now I'm like,
So
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean you're just not talking about random men's penises
No,
with
I mean,
random
me and
people?
Chia are grown, so
That
it's so
part.
different. I was in high school, so you know, like we're sneaking,
Yeah.
having sex, so like it's still like
He's
hard.
got to
and-
hide it when
Yeah,
he
you
comes
gotta
out
hide
or
it, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
That is funny.
yeah. So that's
Yeah,
funny.
girl. All
That's
of that
hilarious.
happens.
It's really interesting though, because I will say this: my daughter is already obsessed with her boobs.
Aw,
Like-
her little nips.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
She can say about 4 words, and
She
one of
is
them is
so
boobs.
funny.
She says boob.
Yeah, but is
Yes.
it about her boobs or your boobs?
Both. Both. But she is, if I unzip her onesie to like change her diaper, and she's like, boobs, like
Oh,
right
that's
away.
so cute.
Like right
That's so
away.
funny.
She just is very, and I'm like, yeah, those are your boobs. And then when you get a little older, I'll be like, those are your breasts.
That
like,
is so funny.
you know, it's just funny that she really does. And I'm watching these kids, And it's just really instinctive. Like, I think I shared this on the podcast before. Cameron, when he was smaller, if he got nervous or if he got excited about something, he would say, "It makes my pee-pee feel funny."
Girl,
Oh, yeah,
y'all's
you
kids
did
gonna be
say
so
that.
mad at y'all when they hear these podcasts.
Listen, we all did this.
Yeah.
We all did this. Let me tell you, okay? Because, I mean, but it's just the truth. It's like, I think it's really interesting for me as a parent to watch him express that openly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel comfortable enough
That's
to
what
say
it is.
Yep.
Right? Like, you feel comfortable enough to say it. You're identifying a sensation in your body based off of an experience you're having in your physical life.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see that for boys, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So if he felt scared on a roller coaster, if
I
he
didn't
got
realize
super,
that.
yes, if he got super excited, he identified the feeling in his body
Yeah.
in his privates. And that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that really was interesting to understand men on
Isn't it
a
crazy?
different level.
Yeah.
It's crazy how
that is
much
deep.
we learn so much about, I mean, men or women, but we learn so much about men through our sons. I'm like, because there's some things I'm like, I don't understand y'all. I feel like I've said this so many times on this podcast.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't get it.
No.
Yeah.
I really like your approach of the blood thing.
Me too.
'Cause
Yeah,
Zen
yeah,
hasn't
'cause that's
asked-
real.
Yeah, because Zen hasn't asked, why does it do this?
Right.
He's just like, just being a boy,
Yes.
you know? So
I think too
That's cute.
what I like about it all,
cute.
right? It's uncomfortable. But it's the discomfort. Like, I like two things, like having to have the conversation, because like you said, like he asked a question and you're like, okay, here we go.
Here's my answer.
You know,
Yeah.
and but I like being a little uncomfortable and then figuring out how to
Yeah.
respond in
Yeah.
an honest way.
It's
Yeah.
so important for us because
Yeah.
we're not practicing this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not out here being like, okay, but when he asked about this, da-da-da. I don't know how
I
I'm
low
gonna
key
recall
am
that.
though.
Me too.
Look, you are.
Me too.
No,
Me too.
I read that article 2 years before I had a child.
I just feel like I just do my best to respond authentically
Yeah.
in the moment, and I take my time. Like, I don't ever want him to see me panic
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a space of, oh, don't ask this, or oh, I wasn't ready for this. Like, when
Yeah,
he
yeah.
asked about the period, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually very proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm
proud of you.
Because I never thought about how to explain that to him. Like, I
Right.
never thought about what that would mean. And he was asking me, like, does it hurt? And I was like, it can hurt. You get cramps sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, he was very trying to understand without, ever having to experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it will likely happen to all girls.
That's the best
You know?
is when they ask you a tough question and then you answer it really good and I don't know about y'all, but I'd be like, oh, I bodied that.
bodied that.
Oh, yeah, I did
Yeah,
that.
Mom.
Yes.
So the period
10
thing,
out of 10.
one time, because my kids are very like, we pee with the bathroom door open.
Yeah.
Like, we're just very open
Right.
and, and so Zen, him being a little boy, he'll be like, oh, your booty. And I have to tell him like, boy, move.
Right.
So one time he walked in when I was in, this is not like a normal, I don't want to say normal. I hate that word. It's not an often thing, but I was changing my tampon and he opened the door and he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm changing my tampon. And he was like, why? There's blood? Like, what's going on? So I had to explain the period and he was like, oh, ew. And he just like walked out. But
like,
Peace
too
is
much.
so like
Ditto.
when I get mine, like, what is it going to be like? She's more
Aw,
like
yeah.
curious,
She's
you know?
curious about it.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
Ash, you have 4 daughters.
I
How do you
do.
approach this?
I mean, with Amir, I'm the same way my mom did. My mom was really open. I'm like really blessed. She's just an open, loving mother. And like, I remember being 6 years old and asking her how babies were made. And my mom was in the kitchen cooking something. I remember walking up behind her being like, Mom, how are babies made? And she put the stuff down, turned around and was like, the man takes his penis, he puts it in the woman's vagina, he ejaculates, it fertilizes her eggs, and then the baby grows inside of you. And I was like, okay. And I walked away.
It's giving Cam. It's giving Cam
It's giving
response.
Cam.
No,
energy.
my mom has always been so honest, but she was honest with us about our bodies too. I remember as I was getting older as a teenager, she was telling me like, she always said like, I don't want you to have sex. I want you to wait. But if you do, don't let somebody do X, Y, and Z to
Right.
you. You need to understand that this is your body. Like, these are things that are safe and unsafe. Don't let someone tell you what to do with your body if you don't feel comfortable doing. She told me like, you need to make sure you wash properly. And she's always been very scientific, but my mom, like, she was a paramedic and she just loves science.
That makes sense.
My brother went into school into medicine. Our family was like, had all these medical books around. So everything was very scientific. It was
Yeah.
not like, there wasn't emotion connected to it, she would just be like, these are the diseases you can
Yeah,
get.
these are
And even
facts.
why I wasn't allowed to wear tampons, she said the number one call she would get was girls getting tampons stuck in their vagina, and they would call 911 and they have to go pull them out for them. So she was like, I don't want you wearing tampons. Like very, so I'm the same way with my kids. I don't really get uncomfortable often. And I actually like thrive in uncomfortable, awkward situations.
Yeah.
It kind of like makes me happy. I like when shit's weird. So like when my kids ask me questions, I'm like, oh, are we having this talk? But Amira, the first time she saw me change my pad, we were in Macy's in the bathroom. And she was like, it's blood.
They like, are you okay?
Yeah. And I'm like, there's a whole bunch of people in here. This is embarrassing. Could you stop? But I was like, I'm on my period. I explained it to her. And then she was just never really thought about it again. And then as she was getting older, I remember like we had to take her to the doctor. And as your daughters get older, FYI, well, you don't have daughters, but when they get older, they're going to ask you, like, can we check them? And they'll check them to see like when their period's going to start. So they kind of
how old?
So they can, I guess they can tell based on like their cervix or something.
When
like
you say that though, do you mean like within years, within months?
So
Like,
when
what are you
they're
saying?
around like 11. So when she was 10, they asked, and I was like, no. Like
they
if
start
she-
showing, like,
she
signs of
start-
puberty.
Amira was like, don't, no.
Yeah.
You cannot check me.
That's
So I
kind of
was like, okay.
traumatizing.
And then when she was 11, I was like, Amira, but they also, I think it's a part of the doctor's job to check to make sure they're not having like any sexual abuse or anything. So they have to look. So they are she had a female doctor, very gentle. And she just like kind of opened it. Look, she's like, she's going to start her period like within like 6 or 7 months. And she did.
What?
Yeah, it was weird. But that's just like a thing.
That's a new thing. See?
Yeah.
I've never
had a
happened to me.
doctor.
I feel
I've
old.
never
I didn't
had
have a doctor do that
When
to
I
me
was
either,
18.
but yeah, they'll just like check their bodies, make sure there's no, abuse happening, and just making sure that like everything is the way
Like
it's supposed to
working.
be. Yeah. And then also like
God.
Amira was a little bit of a late developer like I was as well. So they were just, like letting us know. I mean, she lost her baby teeth this year and she's 13. So yeah. But it's just a thing. I don't know. I'm very open in our home, and Chia doesn't wear a shirt in the house. And like the girls are always like, "Your nipples." And he's like, "Yes, we all have
Do
them."
the middles? Do they have any like curiosity as far as their bodies? With little girls?
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you who, but one of them enjoys a little squeeze, and I had to have a conversation. Like, I'm gonna need you to stop doing that shit, because it was like she called it stretching, and she used to hang off of stuff. And my mom is the one who pointed out to me. She's like, "Honey, she's squeezing her legs together." She would literally like hang over chairs and hold her legs up and just hang there. And I just thought she was just like hanging.
Right.
And my mom was like, no, that's something that children do. Like she's squeezing her vagina together because it feels good. And I was like, no, not my baby.
So wait, here's my question though, because depending on how you communicate, don't do that.
Right.
You're making her feel like it's not okay. So I'm curious, like, how do you? Because it's okay,
right?
But just not necessarily.
So I ignored
in a
it
group.
for a while because I just was like, okay, it didn't happen that often. But I would just like catch her hanging off a chair, and I'd be like, oh, okay. So of course, I'm a researcher.
The way she said hanging off a chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
There she go with her acrobatics.
She go hanging. You're on your
Like,
monkey shit
we just
today,
go
huh?
chilling and look over like, my nigga. So I went online, and first, I'm like, is masturbation normal for children? Is this
It
a sign of
is.
abuse?
Yeah.
I know, but I didn't know.
Right.
I only have brothers. My sister was older than me. It's not something me and her talked about, Like I remember when I started masturbating, but I was definitely a teenager. Like that's my first memory of doing that, not that age.
Yeah, but you
Shoot.
wouldn't remember.
Girl, I was
if you
30.
were like 6 doing what
Like,
you're
I was late. I
describing.
was late there.
Oh, okay. Well,
Huh?
as long as
Wait,
you
we'll
don't
talk about
work
that
out.
later.
31?
32, girl.
Oh, okay.
This is
So
Felicia.
just 2 years in the game.
This is Felicia. Hey.
I'm glad you like your vagina now.
Love.
But no, I went online and read, because same thing you said, right? And the number one thing, it was like, don't shame your children.
Yeah.
Don't make them feel uncomfortable. You don't. And it also said redirect them. Sometimes they do it when they're bored and they're not being stimulated other ways. So like and it was also trying to learn when it is a problem, like
Right.
when I should
Yeah.
seek a therapist or something if it persist. So I just started having a conversation like, listen, I understand that first of all, stop calling it stretching, because that's not what stretching is. So we say squeezing now.
Sure.
I didn't want to use the word masturbation. I feel like that was a little too intense for their age. And I'm like, you cannot do that around other people. It's inappropriate. And I'm like, that makes other people uncomfortable, because that is not appropriate to do around other people. Like, can you imagine? No. So I told her, like, if that's something that you feel that you really want to do, first, like, come and get mommy. Let's do something else. Like, I'm trying to give her different things to do. But I also told her if she does do that, she has to do it when she's alone and by herself. Because, like, you don't want I don't want my kid just like being around other kids or like just doing something and then just like off in the corner, like squeezing her vagina together.
sure.
Like, that's
Does she
weird.
know?
So
Does she
I was
know
just
what that
saying-
is?
I was like, but do you-
no, she just
but do you-
accidentally did it and
but
it felt
do
good
you-
and she
but
kept doing
do you
it.
acknowledge that it feels good? And
Yeah.
that's
Right,
like,
right.
okay, yeah.
She has
So-
said that.
Yeah, I asked her why. I was like, why do you do that? At first she started crying because she felt ashamed.
Okay.
She was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, does it feel good? And she was like, yes. And I was like, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I was like, it's okay
So
if
she's
it feels
aware.
good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was like, that makes sense, baby. But like, I don't want you doing that like in the middle of the room, or like if we're watching TV and I can see her like under the cover, like going like, it's like she just freezes and I know what's happening. Like she's somewhere else.
So the reason,
AKA, we don't squeeze our vaginas at the table.
exactly.
Yeah.
The reason
Don't
the
touch our
article is
vulvas.
called "We Don't Touch Our Vulvas at the
Squeezing-
Table."
Yes.
The squeezing family night.
Is because she was like literally learning how to pivot her daughter to like, all right, do this in a private space.
Yes.
This is something for you. It feels good,
Mhm.
but it's something that you should do in private.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate when we're eating dinner. It's
Yes.
not appropriate when we're
Yes.
watching movies.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
So the article I really like recommend it. I've read it like a million times
I'm gonna
since
read it.
2014. But that's what I liked about it too, is like figuring out how to not shame our kids, right? And how to pivot them to like the most healthy version of
Yeah.
whatever is safe.
But also in another article was saying that sometimes children do that when they're bored. And so like helping them understand like when that happens, that you don't have to revert to that. There's other things that you can do. Like you can like go play or read a book or like, you know, just stimulate yourself in a
But
different
I mean,
way.
even if you think about it from like men,
Mhm.
men will masturbate whenever they can, how they want to. Like if like
yeah.
boys, like as they get older, once they figure out that they can do that, that's like a very common, acceptable thing that people are just like, oh, of course you can do that. Why wouldn't you give yourself pleasure if you can and you're bored?
yeah.
So it's-
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to know that that's, again, for boys, it's like, it's a rite of passage, but for girls, it's problematic.
Yeah.
But it's
like, if a
whatever
girl
we
is in
want.
her
But
room-
at the end of the day, it's whatever however you communicate it
Oh,
to your
100%.
child.
Yeah.
But I'm saying just from a societal standpoint, it's like we have this acceptance that boys, that's what they do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
lotion, tissues,
I
all the
don't
things,
have
and it's
that.
acceptable.
If I had a son, I would be like, nah, homie, you can't do that during the day either. Like that gotta be, I would redirect my
You
child
gonna
too.
give them time constraints.
Yes,
It got to be dark
because
outside.
If you think about it, that's probably what's wrong with this world now. Men are always allowed to be hypersexual, and there's zero control centered around that. So then when they do like rape women and other stuff, people, even now, like the way it's handled, it's like almost like it's okay. Well, like they get it. Like, oh, you were so you know what I mean? You were worked up. Or when women are telling men no in the middle of sex, it's like, you can't tell a man that. Like, it's because typically men are taught that it's okay for them to masturbate or have these feelings or be aggressive.
This is just
So
how
I
I'm
think-
wired.
Exactly.
think
You're
there's
a
a
man.
lot.
You're
No,
saying.
I think there's a lot to what you're saying though, and maybe I'm like rejecting the either like societal acceptance or the what I would call sort of like old school of thought.
Okay.
Because I would not say that like today
Mhm.
most parents or I would say that number is probably smaller, right? The parents and the teachers and the lawmakers or whatever that like are accepting of that. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't still exist.
Right.
But I mean it's within our power to like control our language around it.
Got it.
Because what I personally don't think is realistic or what I'm not going to do is like, I don't feel like I can or should control when they touch themselves, right?
So if he's in class just touching himself,
no,
that's okay.
I'm going to articulate boundaries around
Okay.
where
Yeah.
where
It's
it's
appropriate,
appropriate,
yes.
where where it's safe, right?
Yes.
Don't do it in a group of whatever number of people. But then consent is the other part of that conversation. So it isn't simply let's control. You can't just touch yourself all the time because you like it.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to learn how to like use your sexuality is the word we'll use later, not necessarily today with the age my kids are, but like you have to learn how to express your sexuality, but also adhere to or respect other people's boundaries and bodies and et cetera.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a huge difference with like someone can masturbate 24 hours a day. If they don't, random huge number, but that's very different than I'm going to go assault somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's
I
a
see
lack
what you're
of
saying.
self-control though. I honestly,
Sure.
I think it's
but
just we look
that
at it differently.
communication is critical
For
as
sure.
early as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. That's why
Yeah.
I told her like it's not appropriate like in groups of other people or
Sure.
when we're watching a movie, those things like you need to do that when you're alone. But I typically don't see her like going off alone. Like it's
Well,
really
y'all
like
do be living in the same
I
two
know.
bedrooms.
It's
for now.
slowed down. I mean, it's really like I don't see it happen that often. And now she'll go to sleep and be like, Mommy, I'm not going to squeeze. And I'll be like, oh, okay, girl. Like that's fine.
That's what you're referring today. I accept that. I receive that.
She's trying to have like some self-accountability with it.
Self-control, how we're saying.
That's what I was going to say. I just think we're all different people, right?
Yeah.
And I look at situations within my own family and things that specifically males in my family, things that were, it's normal and it's fine. And it was excused that graduated into inappropriate behaviors as an adult and also lacking self-control. And I feel like for me, I just want to teach my children to have self-control. I masturbate. It's totally fine. It's perfectly normal. You know what I mean?
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, exactly. Everything in moderation. And also, even within myself, sometimes when I'm going to do it, I'm like, am I bored? Or like, do I need, you know what I mean? Like, where is this coming from? Like this needing to be stimulated. And is this just like, is this something it's a comfort versus like me really addressing like what's going on with me anyway?
Sometimes I just need to bust a nut.
Sometimes I'll sleep. Sometimes I'll sleep better. I need a better night's sleep.
Deep. Right? No, for real. Sometimes I'm frustrated and I'm like, you know what? I think I need to masturbate.
Yeah.
I feel like
Okay.
Wait, also going back to that consent conversation, Cody, why you looking at me like that?
No, there's so much happening, guys.
Okay, wait.
She would have busted that too, honey.
So going back to that consent conversation, I teach peace and zen now as brother and sister, the importance of if your sister says, don't touch me, and it's not in a sexual way, but even if you're like hitting her, or whatever, you need to listen to her.
Yes.
And vice versa. So with Zen specifically, I noticed that he'll keep doing. Obviously he's 4.
It's his sister.
But he's still, a little boy. And I'm like, I don't want him to ever fall under that category of like, it's a boy, so it's okay.
Yes.
Because it's not okay. And I'm like, what did your sister just tell you? Don't touch her body.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to play. She doesn't want a rough house. Like, don't touch bodies.
Yeah.
But I always take it to another level of like respect every human's body.
Yeah.
I'm like, but then I was like, specifically when it comes to women, like not women, but like little girls, I was like, if a little girl tells you no, don't touch me, you need to listen and you walk the other way. So I'm like, I feel like all these hard conversations happen like right now.
Yes.
Right.
It's important to set the foundation.
I'm like, some like grown men, I'm like, oh, nobody ever told your ass no.
Yes.
See?
Like somebody told you that this was okay the whole time and
Yes.
it's absolutely not okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you can tell. I feel like sometimes women,
absolutely, you can tell.
baby they sons or men do, and they're like, it's boys will be boys, or not. Maybe that verbiage isn't used anymore, but it's typical, or that's boy behavior. That's why even when you say that sometimes,
still,
I'm
still
like,
say
that's
it.
not
100%.
real. I keep trying to tell y'all like boys are this way. I'm like, no, I have 4 children. All children are different. Like, I'm telling you, it's not. There's not really boy things and girl things. There are like more aggressive children. There's more like flamboyant children, and this happens. I have 4 children of the same gender. They are not the same.
It's like the habits are the same, but like the energy.
It's
like,
the energy.
You don't think that there's any sort of behavioral difference between boys and girls at all?
Not in my experience, no. Because I've had a child who just sat quietly.
I'm asking about boys versus girls. You don't have any sense to compare it to, though.
No, but that's my point. Because when I see my friends, they'll be like, boys are rambunctious and da-da-da. I'm like, I have daughters who jump off of shit and flip off of stuff, and they're turned the fuck up at all times. They run around the house and they body slam each other, and they like Ninja Turtles and they like Sonic. So that's where I'm like, I don't really feel like sometimes those things are real.
Do you believe in gender?
I do.
Now that we're talking about this?
I do believe in gender. I don't know. I don't know. I believe in let me tell you this. I don't know. I don't want to speak about gender because I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
But I will say I 1,000% believe in masculine and feminine energy.
Absolutely.
1,000%. The way gender is like whatever.
Yeah.
But there is 1,000% masculine and feminine energy through this world, and plants and everything. And everything rotates off of that axis, because even in some same-sex relationships, there's still more masculine. That's just a natural thing. Like batteries work that way. You have to have opposites, and it doesn't have to come from different genders, but there's always a more masculine and feminine person in every relationship.
Yeah, it's like energetically, like, okay, so let's say you have AZ and Zen, right? And it's like, okay, this is clearly a boy, this is clearly a girl.
Right.
And Zen's energy is like very alpha, but then AZ's energy is also very alpha. So it's like the genders are different, but the energy is attached to it. Yeah.
I have more masculine energy than Chia does.
Yeah.
And he's a man.
I got more masculine energy than all these knuckles.
Yeah. 1,000%. Every day is very noticeable. Like, I think you want to be the wife. Like,
Lord.
Not in a hater way, but like he's just He knows. I always
I
tell
am
him
not
that.
a part of this part. Okay,
Well, we always say
Felicia's
I'm the
clocking
husband
out.
and he's the wife. He is more no, but when you think of
I can see
feminine,
that.
you think of soft, right? You think a soft approach, a more gentle
I think
inner.
gentle,
Y'all
not
know
soft.
Chia, and if you were to say who's more gentle and soft, you're going to say it's Chia, not me. That's just how even my kids say that. Like they're more fearful of me. You know, typically it's like the dad's voice. No, my kids are more fearful of me. They are easily run over Chia. Because I'm a more masculine woman. I have a lot of testosterone in my body.
Thug life.
No, but I think that I would love to see like a scientific display of like children raised out in the wild to see if that like boy versus girl thing is real. But I've not experienced that because like I said, I have 4 daughters and I'm telling you, Asia is like, she loves like all the things that some of y'all son, she loves all of that.
Yeah.
Sonic, but she also likes Barbies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think boys probably do too, but they're already groomed at such a young age. Like people buy them boy gifts. So it's like already programmed in their mind.
I'm gonna be honest
I
with you.
play with these things.
I
Unless they have a sister.
never ever put any sort of like weight on what was a boy or girl toy
You
with
ever buy him
Cameron.
a Barbie?
And I've never bought him a Barbie, but he's had dolls. He sees his sister's dolls. It's none of
Okay.
that. But that's what I'm saying. I've never bought him things that were girl or boy toys.
Okay.
That child was instinctively drawn to cars and trucks.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And it was like all of it. It was trucks on the road. It was cars. It was
Yep.
like I was like, oh, this is a thing. Like you hear these things,
Yeah.
right? But he literally is drawn to those things. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see those parts. That's why I was asking you, like, do you feel like there isn't a difference? I do feel there's interests and energies that are just absolutely transferable between any gender,
Yeah.
100%. But when it comes like that, I'll be honest. My experience with Cam is like he was like, "Yep, I'm into these.
So
trucks.
was
I'm into these
Amira.
cars."
She used to beg me to buy her remote control cars for her birthday.
Yeah.
Like on her birthday, she wanted trucks, cars, remote. She's just interested in science
things work.
and how things. Yes,
Yeah.
Legos. All we had was Legos, trucks, cars, and we had Barbies too. But she wanted anything that she could build or make, like puzzles. You know what I mean? So anything centered around electronics or anything she was into.
Mhm.
And then AZ would probably be the most typical female that you would think of. Like she just came out the womb, like put a tiara on my head and throw some glitter on me every time I walk through the door. And she's the only child I have like that. The other 2 are very fluid, like me. I would say they're very. I don't know who Tata is yet. She just be breaking everything. In the fucking
hilarious.
Tata gives me thug life energy.
Yeah,
Just like
she's just
I
a
I don't know
thug.
how we got to the feminine energy and the masculine
Oh, me
energy.
neither.
We were
I
talking-
guess the
Penis.
gist is everyone
penis. Bring it
everyone
back to the root word.
masturbates.
Penis. Say it
Yeah.
all with me.
Yeah.
Penis.
Penis, masturbation, feminine, masculine energy.
Yes.
Well, we know everybody masturbates.
Right.
So that's what we do know, boy or girl. Either
Yeah.
squeezing or
There is an
flicking.
interest.
Squeezing and flicking.
There is an interest.
That's the title of the episode. Squeezing and flicking.
Oh my gosh. Crystal, do not do that to us.
Please do.
Not flick the bead.
How do you tuck up or down?
To tuck or not
The
to
fact
tuck?
that you asked him that is so funny.
Yo, I couldn't believe it. After I said it, I was like, why did I do this?
Why did I open this
up?
to put all my homeboys on a text feed and be like, y'all tuck it up or down.
That is so ridiculous. Well, anyways,
He's like, I don't know, Mom.
it was a very enlightening conversation about all the uncomfortable
Flicking
things.
and squeezing.
And it's interesting. It's interesting to just see that. I wanted to bring this up about the parent test again because there was the black father who is gay,
Yeah.
single black father, and
I love
he has
him.
his son. And it was funny because when they brought up the conversation about like sex and body parts, whatever, he's cracking up and they're like, "Why are you laughing?" And he's like, "Oh, you heterosexual people." He's like, "My son was born through IVF. I have to talk to him about embryos and eggs and all this stuff." Like it was science for him.
Yeah,
and I thought that,
absolutely.
and he,
Absolutely.
and he
He
was like,
said all you
he was like, I got to think about the fact that my kid is gonna, it's like, oh, there's the guy with the single gay dad. Like, he's like, I
Yeah.
have these conversations. It's like, so none of this is off
Yeah,
limits.
100%.
I love
Yeah.
him. I feel like
Me
he is
too.
such a good parent.
I
100%.
actually like the single parents
Me
better
too.
than I was like, damn, these single parents are better than all the coupled parents.
Cracking.
I was like, is there
Why
there
is
something
that?
to
Wait,
that?
okay, I know we need to wrap up.
Okay.
I don't watch the show,
You
but my
should.
immediate thought, I know I should. I will. And we're going to call Jonetta and we're going to try to have her on.
Okay.
Okay. But my immediate thought when you said it was like, y'all roll with me. I could be all wrong here. But like, sometimes when there's 2 people,
Mhm.
right? Like you both have your ideologies and your thoughts about
Trying
what
to
should
meet
be
in the
done.
middle.
And so you're either meeting in the middle and sucking at that, or like somebody's like overbearing, or you're just teaching them different shit.
Yep.
Like
Right.
And single parents have the opportunity to just be great.
Yeah.
No, for real.
No, that's
Yeah.
real.
I feel like that.
Like,
that's
with me
real.
and Gavin, like with us co-parenting, we come together on like the foundation is the same, but the way that I do things
approach.
and the way that the approach of it is completely different. And I don't have anybody in my way, you know, like, and he doesn't have anybody in his way. When you're up in the same house with someone and they're like, well, I wouldn't do it like this. It's like, shut up. I would, you know, like this how I would do it. So
Yeah.
I really feel like I'm thriving.
Yeah.
No, that's the realest
Yeah.
shit. My mom
Yeah.
says that all the time. She's such an Aquarius too, because she just be like, I didn't want anybody else telling me what to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like I can see if her and my dad raised us together, we would be fucked all the way up.
Girl, I think about that all the time with my parents. I'm like, nah, it won't meant to be.
No, thank God.
No.
Yeah, thank God.
I ain't
They're
mad at
like
how it turned out.
two different people.
Girl, what?
And not in a way that would have like benefited. I think like you said, either it's like you're trying to do it and it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think it's successful for Chia and I because we bow to each other, if that makes sense. Like before it was a battle. It wasn't successful. It was definitely my way, his way. And it was clear in in the mirror. When it was just her, it was a battle of the wheels. And my mom was like, that man was trying to help you. Like, let him help you. It's not going to be the way you want to do it. But y'all still have the same mission. Like if the mission is the child is going to eat this dinner, and this is the meal you prepared. And I'm like, I'm going to hand feed her. And he's like, let her feed herself. She's like, gives a fuck. They're eating the food that you cook.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
It's the same outcome.
Yeah.
Girl.
So I think it's hard when it's like, y'all can't agree on what your child's going to eat and what you're going to do. Like, me and Chia agree on everything. What time these kids going to bed, what kind of diet they're having, what their spiritual practices are going to be. Like, and he yields to me a lot in certain areas because he's like, I didn't grow up with those things. So like, I like that you are so dominant and have a vision. He was like, I don't think of that stuff at all.
Bomb, yeah.
Yeah. And in the area and discipline, I completely released and let Chia discipline them now because he's better at it. Like I'm really a sucker. I just be like saying, yes, I give in. Like I don't hold my word to my kids.
Yep,
Like
I'm
if
the
I
same
ground them, I'd be like, okay, psych.
I'm the same way. I'm the
It's
same
been
way.
a day. I give up.
Yeah.
You can have your phone back. Oh yeah,
Your
I'm the
dad tells me
worst.
the same
Right?
thing.
I'm like, what's happening right now?
I'm
It's the
shocked.
same answer that be like, don't come in my bathroom.
Yes.
It's my space.
That's different. Get the fuck up out of my bathroom. That's so
shocked.
different.
Me
Really?
Me
Yes.
I feel like you guys don't know me, but you know me. Like I am a
I feel like you're a
No, but
walking
it's a
contradiction.
contradiction.
I
We
am.
say this almost every other
I
episode.
am.
Yeah.
It's because I'm a Capricorn with a Pisces moon. Those are completely different
Oh,
signs.
yeah.
And I'm just like constantly trying to either be mean or nice every day. But when it
Or
comes
both.
to my kids, I don't like disciplining them. I really don't. Like I'll
me
discipline them, but I don't like to be like, okay, if you're grounded, if Amira, if I ground her for a week, that will last a day. And she is like, you gonna do your time.
Yeah.
You gonna do the whole bit.
Disciplining
He's like
is
the
so
feds.
boring. It's so boring because then it's like if I discipline you, then we all don't get to go to Disneyland.
part.
And it's like, just come on and just stop it.
Nah,
Like,
she had like the whole family gonna suffer. Like he doesn't care.
yeah, no, I
But
don't
it
want to do
works.
that.
We gonna take the
Sidebar.
neighbors
Come
to
on, it's not
Halloween. That's what
promised.
we
I'm
gonna
gonna
do.
just tell you something about because we talked about this and I was like, disciplining styles like the disciplined parent. I'm a disciplined parent.
Really?
I came from disciplined parents. My
Right.
parents, to that story, we had planned when I was a little kid, we had planned this trip to Canada's Wonderland. That's like our amusement park in Toronto. And my brother was getting ready to, we were all getting ready to go. My cousins came over, my aunties, Donna, my mom, God bless you. You'll meet her in a few weeks. She don't play. So my mom was like, go get dressed. And my brother's like, I don't have anything to wear. And he's like, what do you mean you don't have anything to wear? Your grandmother just did all your laundry. So she was like, child, come, I'm picking out your clothes. He's like, no, mom, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. He didn't want her to come in the room. What did he do? He took all his dirty clothes and threw them on top of the clean clothes that my grandmother had washed and folded for him. And my mom
But
said,
why though?
lazy,
What?
just lazy. Didn't put the clothes away. Put them in the bottom of his closet and just started putting all the dirty clothes on top of it. My mom came into that closet, tore that ass up, threw everything outside of the closet. She's like, "You're staying home today by yourself. We're all going to Canada's Wonderland, and today's the day you're going to learn to wash your clothes for the rest of your life."
Oh.
And she left his ass at home, and we all went to the amusement park. He was 12 years old, and my mom was like, "Done today. You don't have no respect. You don't have," and she left, and I cried for my brother. I was like, "Please, mommy, it's Wonderland. We have to take him. We can't leave him behind."
Oh, God,
And she was just
your
like, "No, he's going to learn this lesson." And to this day, I will never forget the impact of that because I was just like, don't play because you will get your shit taken away from you like immediately.
See?
She didn't play she felt no ways about leaving him. And everyone, the aunties, my own grandmother was like, it's okay, it's okay. And my mom was like, nope.
She like, I need you to learn.
I need you to learn. You gonna stay home
And
today?
what does your dad do? Is he like, okay?
My dad, I don't even think my dad was there. He was probably traveling for work or something like that. But like, no, my dad was about it too. Whatever discipline my mom was putting down,
He was with it.
he was with it. Absolutely. Like,
I love your mom. You know, I tell you all the
She's a
time, like,
thug.
I really resonate with her and I want to be more like her because I feel like, number one, you and your brother are good people and like you can tell. And I don't care what anybody says. That's why I let Chia take over. You need to discipline your kids.
discipline
You
is
got to
important.
discipline your kids. And no matter how much we love them, it doesn't work.
"Not me, though."
I'm not great at it, which
Right.
is why I yield to Chia now.
Right.
And because I used to try to like tell him, no, I have a 13-year-old, y'all. So listen to what I'm saying to
Yeah.
you. You need to discipline your children because when you have a 13-year-old and you have little kids, you can see very easily where your parenting style does not work. And you're like, oh, hell no, I ain't about to do this to the
Again,
rest of them.
right.
Yes. And then you're trying to unlearn a 13-year-old. And it's my fault. So I'm very gentle with Amira, but also like, it's never too late. So
Yeah.
me and her, I always tell her like, I'm just not the same mom and we're growing and I realize that doesn't work for you. You know what I mean? Like she needs to be disciplined and I'm like with Chia. So now it's like, if I ask her to do, I've been getting better. When I ask her to do something she doesn't done, I'll be like, okay. And she's been going to bed like a half an hour early because I kept telling her like, I need you in bed at this time. And she would get up off the couch at that time. Then she's in a bathroom for another 20 minutes and And I'm like, see, you need to have a better understanding of time, people's word. So like we're always waiting her. She's the last one out the door. And I'm like, nah, this isn't going to work. And if had I listened to Chia a long time ago, she wouldn't be doing that stuff. But I would always be like, no, it's fine. Let her stay up 5 more minutes. That shit doesn't work when they get older. Like you gotta, whoever's the more strict person, unless they're like abusing your kids, just let that nigga be strict. Just let him tell them kids what to do and shut up and move out the way so your kids can grow up to be good people.
And that's that on
And
squeezing and flicking.
Flicking and tucking and discipline.
Yeah.
Bye.